I'm recording now, and hey guys, how's it going? b0gie. I'm going to teach Apeiron Creations a little something about baking. You want to say hi? You want to wave too?
Wow, look!
The camera's there, girl. My little girl's trying to harass me. But anyway, let's get into it. In a black void right now. I'm just sorting out my screen. I'm in Blender. Here we go, Blender, lovely jubbly. So I'm using a cavalcade of extensions, and one of them being something I need to start sharing with people because it just makes Blender ridiculously easy to use. You can just drag a GLB, a VRM, whatever. My mouse cursor right now has a GLB. Just gonna drag it in. I didn't have to go file import, none of that bullshit. It's fine. Anyway, so we got our thing in the scene. Lovely, let's go. We're in Blender, we have an object. I'm just waiting for the materials to load. There we go, looks really good. Looks really good. Currently is, well, it's one object. It has two material slots, thing dot da 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 da, so thing 1 and thing 2. So these are the two materials, and what I can do, but actually what I'm going to do before I continue, I'm going to check the UV maps. So I guess step 1, check UV maps. Because remember, we're dealing with one object, right? It was two objects, but now it's one object. So the UV map looks a bit cray-cray. Don't worry, we're going to fix that. So the next step we're going to do, go back to layout tab, and when I'm doing stuff, it is very overwhelming being in 3D because you can easily, you could be looking at something like perspective view is good for just looking at things. It's not good for working, it's good for looking at things. So I like to just go front view, and to do that very quickly I use tilde because I don't have a number pad to save space on my desk. So tilde, and then you just drag your mouse to the top left, and that's front view. Bam. So we're in front view. I don't have to worry about moving the camera while I'm working. I'm focusing on the work, not moving the camera. So we've got two material slots. We've got thing 1 and thing 2. We've got one UV map. So we've got 3 UV maps. Holy crap, that's a big deal. And how I switch, so the material tab is here, and then the data tab. So I've got these two other UV maps. I'm just going to go ahead and delete them. They're not being used, and you can tell if there's a little camera icon next to them. So hit the plus button to make a new UV map for this one object, and then I'm going to select it, and it's basically the same thing. I've just duplicated it basically, and I'm going to name this Simple Bake. That's the first plugin that b0gie uses. It's called Simple Bake. I'm going to hit tab, go into edit mode, select everything with A. Here I'm just going to use the default settings. It doesn't really matter. Now if I go back out, it looks kind of broken. I mean, not all of it looks broken, but it's pretty messed up, and that's fine. That's kind of good because I'm going to show you the difference in what they look like. Go back to UV editing. Right, so this is what our UV map looks like currently, and this is the new one we made. See, it's a bit more, it fits in the box. Like ideally you want your UV map to fit in the box. So what I'm going to do next, in Blender 3.6, there's a new feature called Pack Islands, which basically optimizes the space used in your UV map. So I'm just going to go to UV and wait a little minute, takes a little second. And this feature's only in 3.6. It's like a really good feature. Cool, and that changed my UV map ever so slightly, but it's a lot more optimized. It's like packed nicer. And this is where it gets a little funky. So I'm gonna share the plugins I'm using, Simple Bake, and I'll throw in the drag and drop one if you want. They're very handy plugins. Right, so I'm just gonna check real quick our materials now. So I'm gonna head over to the shading tab, and I'm just double checking. This is all part of the baking process. So just control space to focus on this big window, and I can see so these are the images. These 3 images are the ones well, this is already a baked thing, but I'm combining 2 baked things together to make a new bake. All I really have to do is focus on thing 1 and 2, and it's where the pictures are plugging into on this big node. So this is principled BSDF, and maybe I might capture the occlusion. That might, I'm gonna try something. I'm getting a little experimentative with it. So anyway, so I've got base color, metallic, roughness, and normal. So these are the things I'm gonna be baking together. So base color, metallic, normal, and roughness. Okay, basic stuff. And maybe I'm gonna capture occlusion as well. And same thing, base color, metallic, roughness, and alpha. Okay, this one's got alpha in it, so that's gonna be a little tricky. Maybe, we'll see. Now that I know what I need to capture in my bake, I can go over to Simple Bake now, which is the plugin I was talking about. Please tell me I don't have to update. That would be amazing. I don't have to update. So this is Simple Bake. It lives in your render tab. And basically, you have 2 options here. You can either do a PBR bake, which is a EV bake, bakes this stuff, or a cycles bake, which is, it's a bit easier to bake things using PBR. It's a little bit quicker as well. That's just the personal opinion of b0gie. No one, well, it's like, PBR bake. That's what we're doing right now. Don't worry about that presets. So bake object. So this is where it gets cool. So I'm baking this object, so I just add it. So now I've got the object added, and I'm gonna remove it because I don't like that long old name. This is called a Tory gate, and I'm also gonna get rid of this empty object because we don't need it deep. So we've got object now. Add object. And also I'm gonna save the file real quick because sometimes simple bake does crash. Right, now that all that's done, we're gonna get into the next step. So we've added our object, so we can you click on the tab to open and close it. So we go over to the next object, and this is where you pay attention to base color, metallic. So so diffuse is base color, metalness we need to get that, the roughness we need to get that, and the normal and alpha. There we go. So those are the things I need to bake with those two materials. Awesome. Right, so yeah, these 5 things I'm baking, and you can set the roughness. So obviously we're looking for roughness, not glossy, and we're going to use DirectX for baking the normal. Set what type of things we want to bake. We can go down to special bake and tick this ambient occlusion. I haven't done this. This is experimental. This is where the experiment kicks in. I've never actually baked occlusion before. We'll give it, actually, to be fair. No, we're going to leave this set up like this because this is more for like when you export it for web, this stuff gets kicked in. So I'll leave that for now. I'm not going to bake the ambient occlusion, but I'll keep this cool. So then I go to texture settings, and this is where it gets cool, right? So technically the images were 4K, but we reduced them to 1K. I got you to do that just now before we started recording. Actually undo that because I'm crazy. Yeah. So I'm just gonna resize the images. So base color, image, resize, because what's cool with the simple bake is I need to explain it first, and I'll pause and do it. Right. So basically, I'm redoing it because with simple bake you can bake at a certain. So I can bake at 4K and then like a 1K image or a 2K image. But I'm gonna do a 2K because that way it's gonna still have that high quality and be optimized. What I'm gonna do now.
3:28 a.m.
This looks a little like, doesn't look as bright. Yeah, we're just resizing these images. 4096. Last one. Save this and save that. What are you guys doing down there, huh? All right, save the file. Right, now we're ready to ride. Okay, make sure I'm on the right UV map. Nope. There we go. Looks like how it did before. Perfect. Right, so now I can go back my bake settings, shading in the same. So yeah, we're gonna bake at 4K and we're gonna output 2K. So we're gonna bake higher and save. Now I'm gonna click merge bake. It's gonna seem a little backwards, but I'm actually going to separate these by material. So now I'm back to having 2 objects. So I've got the Tory gate and the rope. Why? Because it's going to bake those 2 things individually and then merge them together based on the UV map. They both have the same UV map, which that's what. So yeah, this is the breakdown. So what you do, you first merge everything you want to bake together as one object, which is what we want that's the end result. Unwrap it, so we have a second new UV map that we name simple bake. There's a reason for that. We'll get to that in 1 sec. And then we separate it by material. Now so you have 2 objects, 2 materials, you merge them, you make a new special UV map you're going to bake to. Both things, same UV map. After you've done that bake, you can make it one thing, because the 2 objects using the same material, they might as well just be one thing. Even though they're separate objects, they're using the same image, and then that reduces draw calls and it optimizes it. So what we're going to do now, so we click multiple objects to one texture sheet, and it's going to give us this merged bake. No, you just put in some text there. You don't have to, but why not? So we're gonna, it just makes life. It's always good to add context to when you're doing things. It's just basic. It's just Anyway, so Tory gate merge bake. That kind of rhymes. Tory gate merge bake. I like that. Okay, so that's it for the texture settings. We don't really want to mess with anything else. Oh yeah, isolate. Okay, here we go. So under bake objects, I want to add the rope now. So I'm baking 2 things. And I'm going to isolate objects from each other during bake. This is where it's not 100% perfect, but sometimes the bake doesn't, sometimes it'll bake 2 differently. So hopefully this works. I'm really hoping so. Hoping my fingers off, man. So anyway, so isolate bake, PBR, blah blah blah. We've chosen those thingies, and Then special bake, we don't need to do any of that. Texture settings, export settings, don't need to worry about that. The UV settings, here it is. Existing UV maps called simple bakes. Restore originally, you can leave that, that's cool. And you can even tell it to make a new UV map if you want. I want it to use simple bake because both these things are cool. It just makes sense. I set it up and it's just a tried and tested method. Prefer existing UV maps as called simple bake? Yes, please. And then you can leave everything else the same. I haven't messed with channel packing yet. And then there's a big bake button at the bottom, which is cool. That's great. Oh, armory's installed. Nice. What am I trying to say? I'm just going to go ahead and save it just in case it crashes. Things crash. So it's always, when it comes to baking, it's always like good to just make sure you save before you bake. You never know what's good. Welcome back. You never actually know if it's going to crash or not. So I'm going to call this Tor and then hit the little heart because I love it. And there we go. Now it's saved. And these settings are going to be in my thing. Okay, broski. I'm going to go over to the layout tab. A bit more space on this side. Go over to bake setting. Ooh. What did I see there? Right, so this is where it gets interesting, okay? So how this works, you have to first make sure you've got this selected, like with the camera icon, but then you need to left click and select. You make sure you do that for all your objects. Now, technically, I'm going to save some scary stuff. I'm going to choose my Torigate preset. Well, I don't need to choose it, it's already set up. So I'm just going to hit bake and then hope for the best. So this is what you see. I'm going to pause it because it does use my GPU and I'm recording. So this is what you see. As you can see, like it tells us right here how much progress our baking is doing, and so I think it's working on roughness right now. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be down for a link on either one or both of those upgrades, the drag and drop and
oh
the
yeah,
baker.
bro. Definitely. Simple bake. Yeah, let me find them now for you actually. So simple bake. You might have to update simple bake once you've installed it. Might even put this Torigate in the Blades of Grass game now.
Ah, nice.
It's like a big maybe that's like a destination. Get to the Torigate.
Yeah, I've been trying to think about what I might make my my world into, like go see these certain midnight breezes and then like put them all in there somewhere eventually, and to be like, oh, you have to go to the right ones at the right time or something.
Oh, dude, that's a really good idea. Like the bake is done, bro. Sweet.
I see it. You.
Sweet. So now that we got bake stuff, now it's time for the fun part, putting it all together. So go over to the shading tab. I'm going to go ahead and rejoin these two objects, so hopefully it doesn't crash. There we go. Lovely. Save it and then back to shading. I had to do that in layout for some reason. So we're going to make a new material on our Torigate. So I should grab a new slot and new material, call this Torigate, and I'm going to just remove the other two. I'm going to make sure I'm on the right UV map, so I'll hit it's just a simple case of coming in here and adding an image texture. If you really wanted to, you could do it the advanced way. If you want to do more drag and drop stuff, you can go over to Blender file. So up in the top right of the outliner, you can change the window. There's two windows here. That's to change this window into like, 3D viewport, or I'm leaving it as outliner, and this one is to change the type of outliner. And I'm going to choose the whole Blender file. This is all the stuff in the Blender file. So I'm going to go over to the images, and you can see our images right here. Our diffuse, alpha, diffuse, metalness, normal, and roughness. So these are our 5 images. So I just drag and drop them now. So alpha, diffuse. Right, so now I'm going to control space, focus here, and just plug it all together, literally. So metalness, roughness, diffuse. So diffuse into base color. And then I'm just going to quickly check it, see if it looks good. Does it look good? That looks good to me. I mean, obviously the alpha's not plugged in at the minute, so that's why, but it looks good, So only one image is plugged in, and look, all of this, the UV map we set. Remember the UV map? So you can see it now. So this is the baked image. So this is, see what I'm saying about baking? How the textures look before. So this is what the baked, and this is what the base color looks like. It's a baked image as well, but it's not including, they didn't include the ropes. I've included the ropes in this bake. Right, so back to shading. Right, so we got that in there. We get the normal map, put that down there. Metalness, we'll do that one next. And I'm actually gonna just quickly look reference, because I'm gonna add the occlusion back in. I'm just gonna do this. Bring back thing, I think it's thing 2. Thing 1, I just wanna see how they're doing stuff. So base colors there. So we separate, oh, that's for metallic and roughness, but I don't need to do this part. And then it's a normal map, and then I'm just gonna copy this on our Torigate baked. There we go. So that's the occlusion setup. Base colors setup. I'm just going to make it small. Metalness into metallic, and then basically a lot of people do metal and roughness as one image, and then they use another node to separate them. But you don't really have to do that. You can just have So that's the roughness, the metalness. I'm gonna plug in the alpha into the alpha, not the color into the alpha. Hopefully that works. If not, I'll plug the color in, and then the last thing, the normal. So start typing normal map, and I'm going to choose just a little bit like that. Now we have a baked with the ambient occlusion. Right, so the alpha's still not working. That's okay. Let me just try. It's still not working. That's okay. That's probably due to our settings on the material. So if we scroll down, it's set to, but we're going to set it to alpha clipped where alpha's needed. I think. No, that's not working. Color into the alpha. But color, it was color into the alpha, and then you set to alpha clip. 33-minute video over explaining how to bake. Thank you for watching b0gie. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this.
24/7, 420, baby. Yeah. I love cheese.
Wow, look!